The cold wind cuts into you like fragments of silicon against your cheek.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. Specifically, it is the season 13 finale. Indeed, after this show, we will be going on break because holidays, but we will be back in early January. And on that note, let's go to the regular crew and the news. Alex, why don't you start us off this week?
Well, we're looking down the barrel of what may be a significant amount of snowfall for the first time this summer.
Summer?
Or winter. Winter.
Yeah, would you move to the southern
Season
hemisphere?
was the word that I started saying.
Fair.
But then my brain shorted out.
Yeah. Anyway,
Not
first snow
looking
of the
forward to-
winter.
The first significant. We had like an inch before this, but you could walk through an inch without problems. This might be up to a foot.
Remember.
Let's see. Been continuing to try to take some time off from work because of having vacation left, but obviously stuff still needs to get done, so can't take too much off.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Well, I have the week between Christmas and New Year's off, except for that Wednesday.
Huh. What needs to be done that Wednesday?
Nothing particular. Just they need, like, everybody wanted that week off, so the compromise is basically, aside from one person, so like every day, there's going to be one person besides that person in the office to do other stuff.
Huh.
I guess. Again, we don't have a whole ton of people because we're doing most stuff remotely.
Right.
My Christmas presents for my Pathfinder group have started coming in. I ordered a bunch of dice in their favorite colors and stuff, so that'll be nice when I'm actually able to get them to them, because we're still doing remote sessions and stuff, since we want to try to avoid infection vectors.
Of course.
And my grandmother may actually be coming up to stay with us over Christmas, due to the fact that my aunt and uncle, who she would normally be taken care of by over Christmas, are both having surgery shortly before Christmas, so they wouldn't be able to do that. But that might depend on whether or not, because my mom is not feeling good today, so my mom and dad are going to get COVID tests just to make sure. I don't think it is. They don't think it is. They don't have any of the... Mom's the only one who's not feeling good, and she just has mostly general cold stuff, none of the specific COVID stuff like the lack of smell or taste, but
Right.
better safe than sorry when dealing with a very old woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nothing particularly new video game-wise, I don't think, so that's probably about it.
All right. Twilight, why don't you go next?
Well, in terms of the weather, we've just been having a whole lot of cold rain for the past 2 days. It hasn't been anything troublesome yet. I'm a little concerned about tomorrow. I'm going to work, but I don't live out far now. Just about 4 or 5 minutes away, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Let's see how well. We've once again opened the cafeteria / cafe area of the store back up due to the lifts on the precautions and whatnot for COVID. I'm going to see how long that lasts. I'm expecting Christmas, well, post-Christmas, to shut that back down, but I have to wait and see. Let's see what else. Well, me and my parents celebrate my birthday today as per usual. We celebrate a week before Christmas, since for those who don't know yet, I'm born on Christmas. So it's always been tradition to separate the two. At least a week. Yeah, at least a week before. Let's see now. Not much else. Work's been going well. It's actually calmed down some. For now, at least. I expect probably tomorrow he's going to pick back up and be wild from there on out until after New Year's. And, well, nothing really new video game wise. I was trying out Black Mesa last night. It couldn't hold my attention for very long, though. I've played the original Half-Life to some degree a while back, and I just wanted to play something new, but I haven't figured out what to play yet. I'm taking a break from Fire Emblem Three Houses for now. Well, and that's about it for me.
All right. Well, it's your turn, Petty.
Well, luckily we haven't had snow yet, but it has been cold that the field mice have been trying to make their way in, and the cats have been having a field day getting them. And
messy?
Not really. The only thing is that Luna thinks they're toys instead of trying to actually kill them.
I think that's just about every cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just cats.
Well, no, like Noise would just straight up kill them before she plays with them.
Ah.
I see.
So yeah, that's been interesting, going out to the kitchen and like, oh boy, they caught another one. Luckily, they haven't tried putting any in shoes yet.
Give them time.
And tomorrow I get to go see my doctor again about my back because the pain shot they gave me and the muscle relaxers haven't helped. So that's going to be fun.
When's your SSI meeting?
It was yesterday.
I thought it was about time for that. How did it go?
Okay, I guess. I'm basically just waiting for the decision from the judge. It could be anywhere from a week to 6 weeks to 6 months. I don't know how backed up they are.
Fair. Well, hopefully things worked out.
Mm-hmm. And then...
No wonder you were stressed this morning.
And then, as far as gaming goes, not too much to report, but I did get 3 months of Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass because they had it on sale for $1. So I've been playing like Bloodstained and Battletoads. So yeah, that's been fun.
Yeah, maybe something to do to stream during the break.
Maybe.
Anyway, anything else?
Not really.
All right, I guess it's my go. Let's see. Finger update. It is healing. It's a bit slow, but I'm almost through my antibody medication. They may have given me too many pills because I'm supposed to take them for 10 days. I'm on day 10 and I have 5 of them left.
That does sometimes happen. Are you sure they only said for so long?
It said so long, but the other thing is, it was to take a pill every 6 hours. Just one pill. So, that getting doled out maybe 4 or 5 a day at most. That's they probably did give me too many instead of too little, you know. But we're talking about it like a day. It's probably not going to hurt anything to finish off the bottle. Like, yeah, and the finger itself is still sensitive in places, but a lot less than it was beforehand. So, you know, it's coming. It's coming along. Like, let's see. I guess in inter show news, Mac has started up his retro game Emporium Twitch stream. Like, I know he's badgering all of us to subscribe. Like a few days ago, like, haven't actually watched any of his streams because, well, let's be honest here, nobody here watches the, other programming. Don't really have the time for it. Like, but that's a thing that you can go subscribe to on the Twitch. I'm sure somebody will post a link in the channel at some point. And let's see. And yeah, and not much else, just waiting for Christmas to show up. Planning on seeing my brother and his family again. And yeah, that'll about do it for the news. And merrily, we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is Amos Labor of Frolic Labs.
Hey, happy to be here.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Yeah, stuck at home, but never mind,
Such is the story of our times.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been stuck at home, not surprisingly. And hopefully you've been dealing with the pandemic well enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, so getting started properly, we like to get to know the people behind the games, the studio, and so on and so forth. And we start by asking this question: what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
So yeah, I'm pretty much like everyone else. I've been playing video games since I was a kid, and that's like the initial premise. I mean, I liked it like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I did, however, at some point, I also got into just coding and programming and tinkering with stuff. So that sort of led me to try different things, and and later on when I had to go study something, so I said, oh, why the hell not? We'll try computer science. So I became a professional developer, not a game developer yet, just a professional software developer.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually for a good amount of time I was just doing plain application development. But as I started sort of levitating towards stuff that included did the flight simulators. So yeah, so I got into that too. I also I was a fan of the Microsoft Flight Simulator way before that, and I really like flying different things and in a simulation game. So that kind of worked out good, and and that's sort of the way I came into the game industry, I guess.
Like, and what was your first formal job in the game industry?
My first formal job, just a junior developer. I think we did like UI stuff, and then they put me on working on the rendering engine because back then everything was in house. We didn't have like off the shelf stuff like today.
Where was this?
That was so I'm originally from Israel, and that's company from there that I worked on called Simigon. Later on, I came to Toronto, and just was looking for any job in the game industry with that in mind. So I kind of moved on with that stuff.
Did you end up at Ubisoft?
No. Actually, my major AAA job here was Silicon Knights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. When did you end up at Silicon Knights?
So around 2006, I joined there when they were just finishing up 2 Human.
My condolences.
Yeah, no, it was actually fun. I mean, I liked it there. At that point, they went on for a few years.
Yeah, the times after 2 Human were not the prettiest. But that is a saga for another day.
Yeah.
But it's good that you enjoyed your time at Silicon Knights.
Oh yeah. Some of my best memories are from there, like people that I met and stuff that I learned, and.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you last at Silicon Knights?
About 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because I remember that I left. Yeah. Around when trouble started there, and
Mm-hmm.
back then the big thing was like social games and Facebook games, and so I give it a try with that. It's like that the business is such that you're looking for whatever is hot at that point, and you go for it.
And how was your stint in social games, if that's the path you chose?
It was pretty standard. I went through a few places that did clones of farming simulators and city building games and things like that.
I remember those times.
Yeah. Anyway, moved on from there, and at some point, I sort of landed a contract as a freelancer. So I decided to branch and sort of have my own thing.
Right. And when did you are you a founder of Frolic Labs, or did you end up there?
Yeah, I'm the founder. So Frolic Lab is sort of my incorporated business, where I do all my stuff. So originally it was just doing service jobs for other studios. And that was just myself, but I always had this big goal that I want to sort of get my own team and start doing indie games. So yeah, that took some time, but um,
Right.
yeah, got there eventually.
And I suppose that leads us to, well, maybe not today, but the recentish past, as you have achieved that goal in creating your own game, your own experience, your own IP, however you want to define it. In
Right.
what we got showcased here, Dune C.
Right.
I suppose my first question is perhaps not one you're expecting. Did you run into any trouble from Lucasfilm over that name?
Oh no, we thought about it because the first thing I said is like, oh, we used it as a working title. Um, then we have to pick something else, and then someone says, yeah, worst case scenario, you get sued and then you get free publicity. But that never happened. So
Duly
yeah,
noted. Like I, I'm like, perhaps a good thing. Like it's usually good to not get sued. I think.
yeah, I guess we're not big enough to get bothered.
I would not hazard a guess. I mean, being an arm of the Disney Corporation, there's no such thing as too small to sue. Like there have been stories,
Yeah.
like they have sued daycare centers for having Mickey characters displayed and stuff like that. But
Oh, shit.
yeah. Anyway, um, moving along here. So for the uninitiated, what is Dune C?
So Dunsi is sort of it's a game about flying where you fly as a bird, uh, and sort of the more detailed description would be it's a sort of a fish out of water story, and where you're the protagonist finds itself all alone in a strange place and has to find its way uh, sort of out to the world and rejoin your flock um, at the end. And it's basically so it's a side-scrolling flying game, which is plays kind of like a platformer, but instead of running and jumping, you fly and do aerobatic moves, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
And what type of bird are you?
so that you're we ended up with a Canada goose. So it's a goose game, so to speak.
It's a
Uh,
title goose game.
right. So I just want to clarify that the original design called for a number of birds and to be sort of interchangeable, kind of like a style that you can choose whatever bird you want to play. And but some things they never make it to the end when production is
Mm,
sort of on the limited resources and schedule.
right. I suppose the flip side to that is what made you land on choosing a Canadian goose outside of perhaps the obvious, where you are.
Right. So we were at the design stage. We were sort of like making lists of like birds that are interesting and or cool, and that sort of I realized that's objective from one person to another.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that certain birds I found more interesting. I don't know. I like pelicans and geese and what else was there? Like flamingos. I guess like waterfowl you can call them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I like to watch these birds fly, and they kind of look interesting. So I thought it would be suitable to be as like a game character. Also back then, there weren't many video games that had any birds in them. I remember there was one game with crows. Uh, but yeah, because we were trying to see if it's been done before, and we couldn't find anything similar.
Not this particular combination. I mean, it reminds me a bunch of Journey, but that's more the
Yeah,
desert than anything else. Uh,
right. That's very intended.
I figured as much. Um, was there any other reason why a desert was selected as the location? Because it's an inspired choice.
Right. So yeah, the original concept was we get a few environments and go between them, and the environments. I mean, the design called for environments that are let's say hostile and or intimidating or challenging. So yeah, naturally. So as we said, something like a desert, not necessarily a desert like in Journey, but some a desolate place that you're all alone, and not much things around you, and that is considered place that you want to fly away from or get away from. And so that was the idea, and then the concept phase we kind of expanded that, and we said we want to base that on real world locations, and we have these uh, research papers that we did, and that lists different areas, that kind of looks either looks alien or looks interesting, and I can list a few. So it's like there's like Zion and Canyonlands in Utah, Bryce Canyon. There's Simi Valley in California, um, and Kalahari Desert, and you have the Atacama Desert in Peru, and all these are. You look at photos from there, and they look so alien and strange, and some of weird rock formations, and so that was the idea, that we sort of uh, get that as a concept, and then when we build levels, we try to imitate some of these some elements on some of the environments.
Okay. That sounds involved. Like, and how big is the game? Like, is this something that'll take somebody an hour, 2 hours, or like 8 hours or something like that?
So the game, I think we listed as a 4-hour gameplay, start to finish. You can probably speed run it in maybe in 3 hours. There are 15 different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so not very big. It's more like a compact experience. Um, but that's sort of the nature of it, because it's more of a casual game. So um, that was, by the way, one of the challenges is what do we do to make it still interesting and not repetitive, because some of these types of games that you play, like after 5 minutes, you start getting bored because you're doing the same thing basically. So there was a lot of work towards making things not repeat, and kind of introduce elements along the progression of the levels, and
So,
that kind of thing.
Such as?
uh, such as different obstacles, different enemies. You have you are able, as a bird, you are able to perform a few tricks, sort of like maneuvers. You can do diving, and you can do rolling. You can roll and you know passing through and like narrow places and these sort of things that are built into the levels. So these are like the basic elements we just basically built in a slightly different way, um, in in different levels as you progress. Some of them requiring you to use the special mechanics in order to uh, sort of beat the obstacles.
Hmm. And is there any sort of collectible element to the game?
Well, yeah, you have so the game has like the basic collectible, which is considered as food or energy. These are like sort of floating seeds, um, and some are like you have a few types of these. So these are standard pickups. Then you have a collectible, which is sort of like a gold coin. These are hidden throughout the game, like secret places, and so there's like one of the challenges is to go and find these.
Hmm. And is there any sort of reward for finding them, or is it bragging
Well,
rights?
yeah, they're not really, except achievement unlocked. Originally, there was supposed to be like an actual reward, but that one of the things that was cut out of the game because we wanted to do like skins of the on the bird, and that was supposed to let you get a new skin. Unfortunately, that feature didn't make it, so we're just left with collecting for the sake of collecting.
Right. And in terms of obstacles, what what does this Canadian goose have to overcome?
So mostly passages. So you have narrow passages with moving rocks on them. Uh, they're like in different shapes, I guess. You have sometimes you have to go inside like an arc or a cave-like structure. So that's just navigating through places. Then later on, you have sandstorms that you have to pass through. Um, you have area that has like sort of a volcanic ash and rocks falling from the um, basically sort of projectiles that are coming from a volcanic eruption that you have to avoid. There are also fountains or sort of steam geysers that you have to pass through them, and then that's more of a timing thing. Yeah, I think I listed most of them.
Okay. Like, so no enemy birds.
There, yeah, you're correct. There is actually there is an enemy bird which was sort of halfway through uh, worked on, but we had to cut that off, and that was actually I think we had to figure out if it's worth the effort and if that actually adds enough to the game. And yeah, it ended up that the enemy bird that was supposed to chase you is just hovering around in the background. Um, yeah,
Like,
that's sort of the reality of in the development. That's some stuff that you need to cut in order to get to the finish line.
right. And how long was Dune C in development for, and how many people worked on it?
So we had a core of 4 people working on it for about a little more than 2 years. And so and that does not include the concept, which was an additional almost another no, not a year, but maybe half a year prior to that. So keeping that team for that long is also um, kind of a challenge in terms of just plain production. Considering that they don't, I mean, they got paid, but not exactly, like traditional studio for the times. And the longer you keep people, you have to, get the resource to pay them more and stuff. So, um, also I had to deal with people in the team that, they just wanted to quit because the progress didn't seem um, uh, they couldn't see any progress. They didn't see the game going forward. So that happens as well,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we ended up with this core team of 4 members that came through to the end.
Indeed.
Yeah. So and usually like that's the reality. Each one of us had like a day job to support themselves. The 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 production itself was sort of on a shoestring budget anyway.
Not a surprise, given it's an indie game and all that stuff.
Right.
What was the reception like when the game finally came out on Steam?
So it was a sort of I could say mixed, but it's not like mixed. I had a lot of positive response, but there was some disappointment in the just the reach that we could get, which was very small. I mean, we couldn't, because we didn't use a publisher or any external distributor to promote us. The exposure was very limited, but that wasn't a surprise. I mean, we sort of knew that. The people that did get to the game mostly liked it. And yeah, and that was sort of throughout the development, you get this constant feedback, but even before the Steam release, because we had the public beta before that, so we had sort of like a small group of gamers that like the game. As always, you always get people that they don't like the offering, or some elements they don't appreciate, or whatever. You get it on any game, that's fine. Overall, we've got this mostly positive response.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's good. The people who got the game liked it well enough. Like,
Yeah.
Shifting gears a bit, is there any music in the game, or is this like an ambient sound kind of deal?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that the music is a big part of this game. We had an in-house sound designer and composer. That's Jake Butnu. And you can hear the game soundtrack where each level has an individual track, sort of adjusted to the mood and the tempo of that specific level. So that's a major part of the game because we sort of aim for this feel of sort of creating an atmosphere of sometimes of so, being very relaxed or sort of in a sort of zen mood, and music is a big part of it. So definitely, yeah. And there's also a standalone original soundtrack that gets sold on its own, apart from the game.
Mm-hmm. And what led to the Switchboard?
So originally, just when going on development, like what I said is like, given the opportunity, I would do console first, and I would even skip Steam because the only reason you go to Steam is that it's just easy to get there. It doesn't cost much, and the barrier is very low.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to do console anyway, and it was just a question of how do we get these publisher to notice us. And after the Steam release, we were able to contact Nintendo and do a pitch for them. So we got approved. That was the first console that approved us, and so we decided to do a port for the Switch. And that's basically it. I might add that we would have done for other consoles as well. It's just a matter of really budgets.
Of course. That's usually the case with small teams. Like, um, on the computer side, is this game Windows only, or are there builds for Mac and Linux?
There's Windows and Mac.
Okay. No plans for Linux?
No, because main reason is the market is not big enough to justify the extra effort and expense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually the same with Mac. we spend so much time, not a lot of Mac sales, I can tell you.
Not a surprise. Now, in regards to the Switch version, did you do anything in particular for that? Like, does it use the HD Rumble, the touchscreen, anything like that?
So, no, it doesn't use any of these. It's just use the standard things that you can find on other consoles. But we do have the standard Rumble, and what we did for the Switch is the some of you might call it DLC, is that the few extra levels that we didn't have in the original Steam release. We got that exclusive on the Switch for a while. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, it was released on Steam. So now you have the complete edition on Steam.
Okay. And what's the response been on the Switch?
So pretty good so far. Again, it's like I got a lot of positive response. It's just sort of we're trying to, you know, we're trying to stand out, uh, among Switch indies. That's all. And it's the same discoverability issues like Steam, only it's a bit different. So yeah, but yeah, sort of according to expectations, pretty good.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And have you made a choice in regards to where to port Dune C next yet?
Well, there's sort of the only console that I have proved so far in addition is Xbox One, but because the rollout of a new generation of console that's been put on hold right now, because I have the dev kits for the last generation,
Right.
so that might. I mean, it's not clear right now if we go through with that or maybe wait for next year.
I couldn't say, like, other than everything in regards to the generational lines are very in flux, and it may take up to a year for that to stabilize.
Yeah.
So, you just have to see how the ebbs and flows go. Like, anyway, I suppose my final question is, have you given any consideration to, a new game, maybe a sequel to Dune C, maybe something original?
So yeah, we're definitely sort of on the look for new ideas for new game. But it's kind of yeah, it's funny. I think it's kind of early. It's not early. It's been like, I don't know, like at least half a year, but it was so overwhelming. So we didn't have the energy to even start working on anything new. But it's definitely on the something that is planned. Can't say anything concrete about that. We're not sure about genre or direction or anything.
Fair enough. And I suppose we'll close things out by seeing if my colleagues here have any questions of their own to ask.
I think all of mine have been asked.
Might have been asked.
Yeah, I believe might have been covered.
Good. Well, Amos, it was good having you on our program. Dune C certainly looks interesting, and probably pick it up maybe during the Steam sale, like a little bit. But in the meantime, the game is Dune C. It's currently available on Steam and for the Nintendo Switch, priced at $9.99. And be sure to pick it up today.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, Petty, play us to the next segment. So, welcome to the topic of discussion. We had a few things to pick from this week, given the recent Game Awards. I mean, we're not going to talk about the Game Awards themselves because, honestly, I'd be repeating myself from years prior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got the same problems this year as it has every year. You know, too much emphasis on hype, too much emphasis on the future, not enough emphasis on the fucking awards. Good God, they speed rushed some of them. Like, here, they did some in the pre-show. You know, it's like the awards are like the least important part of the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Oscars have a myriad of problems, but they do know to focus on the awards and not the future hype cycle. This is why I regard the Game Awards as something along the lines of the VMAs or the People's Choice Awards. You know,
also people have said that the fix was in for The Last of Us Part 2, and yeah, probably. Although the game also has a lot of award bait shit in it, so
yeah. That's the closest this thing has come to the Oscars, because the Oscars are pretty infamous for that kind of shit in and of themselves.
I mean, it's the principle of award shows. They're not just to award things; they're also to promote products.
Right, but remember, the specific products promoted at the Oscars are prestige affairs. You know, they're thoughtful and emotive, and you know, they're less reliant on explosions. Anyway, but there was a lot of stuff announced at the Game Awards, and ordinarily we would have picked Smash, but you know, they revealed Sephiroth.
Unfortunately, the gameplay and date video is coming tomorrow, and we can't review stuff that comes tomorrow now.
Yeah, indeed. If we could do that, I think we would have better uses for such a power.
Here's my review of Sephiroth and Smash. Sword long.
Get longer.
Yes. I mean, as far as a pick, you know what? I think it's a good pick. I know, you know, there's the usual myriad of, you know, why wasn't X, Y, and Z chosen? But first of all, it's been a while since a villain character was selected.
Also, I haven't actually seen many significant complaints about this, in spite of the fact that, well, to put it the way that I've seen on a few memes. Why are people not complaining? He's an anime swordsman. No, he's the anime swordsman.
Right, like he is one of the most iconic characters, one of the most iconic villains ever. I think he's got Smash cred. You know, if you like, you know, it's more, you know, people are upset that their personal favorite didn't get picked. But yeah, it was definitely a lot less complaining for this than, say, Steve.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know the details, so we can't talk about them. This may be our only opportunity to talk about Sephiroth because, you know, our next show is going to be in early January. And we don't know if he's dropping tomorrow, if he's dropping New Year's. So
maybe if we get super bored, we can do a short video or something.
Maybe. But in the meantime, the probably biggest actual game, or the biggest surprise that was announced at the Game Awards, was that Microsoft is, I hesitate to say rebooting, because we don't actually know what the game is going to be. They showed a trailer. It was a CG fucking trailer. And CG trailers are about as representative of actual game as, you know, shadow puppetry. Now, I'm like, could the new Perfect Dark be in Egypt? Maybe. I don't know. We just know that Microsoft is doing a new Perfect Dark game, and powering that Perfect Dark game is the Initiative. The Initiative is their new, from the ground up, AAA, jokingly called quadruple A development. I know.
I felt the physical pain on that one.
It's the terminology I've seen. But point is, this is their first project, which is, you know, not what anybody expected. Now, there was certainly a lot of expectations. Nobody was tilting towards Perfect Dark. Mainly because Perfect Dark has been a dead IP for about 10 years. Like,
being generous, but yeah.
well, it's like I include the Xbox Live Arcade re-release as the, that was the last entry of anything Perfect Dark.
Fair.
Pretty significant. And that definitely counted. It counted more than fucking Perfect Dark Zero. But yeah, so we are talking about the Perfect Dark franchise, and we can call it a franchise because, believe it or not, there are 3 games that bear the name Perfect Dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people, obviously people will think of the N64 game first. Maybe they'll give a brain cell or modicum of, some vague notion towards Perfect Dark Zero, but the one that everyone forgets is the Game Boy Color edition of Perfect Dark. Yeah, there's a Game Boy Color edition of Perfect Dark. There's a lot of rare stuff on the Game Boy Color. Like, like, once again, everyone focuses on what Rare was doing on, the consoles, but they were a fucking workhorse on the portables. Even post Microsoft, they still pumped out a significant amount of games on the Game Boy Advance, like 5 or 6. Granted, a lot of those were holdover. Those are all holdovers from pre, the purchase, but they still came out and they still like redid the Donkey Kong Country trilogy on the Game Boy Advance. Like, that wasn't farmed out to, like a Nintendo affiliate. It was Rare. They still worked with Nintendo after Microsoft. There's these interesting little bits that people don't know about. Like, Rare went on to actually make some DS games. Not many, but they were there. I own Viva Pinata Pocket Paradise somewhere. That's a good rendition of the game. Worked well in a portable mode. Like, Donkey Kong Racing DS fared less well. They stuffed that with DS gimmickry. Like, shame. But anyway, as far as the main event, the headliner, Perfect Dark for the N64, I actually owned that back in the day. Played it extensively. I was about as good as that as I was with GoldenEye, like, let's just say, decent-ish. Though I could never defeat my brother in multiplayer, or if it happened, it was really infrequent. Like, there was a lot of multiplayer action with Perfect Dark. Like, honestly, Perfect Dark had an insane amount of features for a console shooter in the year 2000. Even today, it's got features that, really should be explored again. Like, probably the most unique mode, and somebody needs to fucking steal this, is the Counter-Operative Mode. Perfect Dark also has a cooperative, where player 2 plays as Johanna Dark's sister, Velvet Dark, who was briefly selected to get a game sequel, I think pre-Nintendo purchase, but that is a thing that fell through. Anyway, what Counter-Operative Mode is, one player is Johanna Dark, the other are the enemies. You're the enemy guards. And player 2's job is to, kill Johanna Dark, stop her from completing the missions. And the asymmetry, but the really brilliant part is, Johanna Dark has has her typical life bar, and the guard has typical henchman life bars. The catch is you have multiple lives, basically. One guard goes down, another will take its place. And, you keep doing that until all the guards are dead, the objectives are complete, or Joanna's defeated herself. As I said, really brilliant stuff. And, I really wonder why nobody's fucking taking this. As far as like the multiplayer mode proper, leagues above the legendary GoldenEye in terms of multiplayer options. I mean, the game in general is myriad of improvements for the most part above GoldenEye. Maybe the thing that didn't sit the most is the frame rate's pretty bad, even for an N64 game. Like, this game was really stretching. Like, this game was actually stretching the power of the N64 pretty fiercely. To the point where it is the third required expansion pack game, or kind of 2 1/4, or actually 1/5, because what it lists on the box is you can access about 20-30%, something like that, of the game without the expansion pack. It's some multiplayer modes. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need the expansion pack to really play this game. Basically what you're getting otherwise is a glorified multiplayer demo. Like that would be fine if that was something that was released on a disc. Now, I know the N64 didn't do discs, but that would have been demo material on another platform. Here, if you don't have the expansion pack, you just paid like $60-$70. People forget how expensive these things were back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a glorified multiplayer demo.
Well, didn't if you buy it new, it had the expansion pack with it?
No.
I think Donkey Kong
because
64 is the only one that did that.
Yeah. I know this because I bought the expansion pack separately, because I never had the desire to own Donkey Kong 64. I rented it, and I'm one of the people who thinks, yeah, this was Rare's fucking bloat out of fucking control.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I got the I got the expansion pack for Majora's Mask, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
If it was separate or included in something.
That being said, the actual high res mode, the 640 by 480. This is what high res was back in 2000. But here's the thing: it's fucking garbage. Because this is kind of the problem half the time of the implementation of the expansion pack in this area. Yeah, you got prettier graphics, but the frame rate took a fucking hit.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you like 3 frames per second? Because that's how we get 3 frames per second.
You're not off the mark there. Like the N64 in general was pretty fucking terrible in terms of frame rates.
Like 15 frames per second, I think.
The average was actually like was about 20 frames per second. Hitting 30 was optimal usually.
You were probably staring at a wall if you hit 30.
Yeah. This is why F-Zero X looks so fucking ugly. It looks ugly, but it moves really fucking fast. Like, it's 60 frames, all the way through, no slowdown. That's the kind of, that is the kind of trade-off that exists to this very day, but it was much more pronounced in the N64 era. People just did not give a shit about frame rates the way they do now, unless you were like from the PC area, where you could actually kind of control that sort of thing. And I'll be honest, I think the Perfect Dark probably would have been better served as a GameCube launch title, because this game kind of broke the N64. And of course, it's got all the N64 problems. The game looks like goddamn fuzzy felt. Like, just word of advice: if you have access to any sort of Xbox system from the 360 onward, get the fucking Xbox Live Arcade version. Not only is it a lot easier to get than an N64 copy of Perfect Dark and all that stuff. This runs at 60 FPS. It's 1080p. It's it's a remastering in the classical sense. That is to say, it's had its textures updated. You know, the models look better, but it's still got that base geometry. You know, it still looks like Perfect Dark and you know, plays like Perfect Dark from ye olden times. You know, that has its good and its bad marks. You know, I won't like Perfect Dark's level design could get spindly at points. Let's say. Um,
Well, I mean, there's no point in having a gun that could shoot through walls if you don't want to shoot through walls.
yes, I fucking hated that gun. Like, oh fuck, that was the bane of many a multiplayer session. You know, fucking
Mm.
fucking Mr. Blonde. Like I said, I have a lot of memories of this. Let's see. As far as the single player campaign goes, it's very much in the mold of GoldenEye. I mean, it's a lot more dynamic and you know, advanced past that, but it still retains that core engine. So, you know, you can do a lot of stuff, but you can't jump. And that's a lineage that was carried over by the Time Splitters games. And people didn't seem to mind the lack of jumping, probably because first person jumping is fucking awful and nobody should do it.
Can confirm.
Indeed.
You know, I'm like, it's why I was never the biggest fan of Turok 1 back in the day. You know, granted, I think I'm more an overall fan of that than Turok 2, but that's mainly because Turok 2's level design takes a fucking hit into the toilet midway through. Like, anyway, but yeah, it's like instead of playing as James Bond, you play as original character Johanna Dark. I mean, this is the main reason why Rare passed on doing another Bond game. Apparently, they actually had first right of refusal to do Tomorrow Never Dies, but you know they said, you know, this is territory they already tread, and to be fair, Electronic Arts eventually put out some good Bond titles, but you know it took a bit of time, and it wasn't certainly not Tomorrow Never Dies. Arguably, the N64 version of the world is not enough. But getting back on base here, you know, Perfect Dark was a lot more advanced, a lot more original. You know, a female-led game, which is still fairly rare for first-person shooters.
Mhm.
Like, the problem is this game came out in 2000, spring 2000, and there was a lot of hype behind it, you know, as one would expect from a Rare game. And it did okay, you know, for Rare on the N64. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's about 1.3 million units, which, you know, for a lot of games, you know, that is a smashing success, especially, you know, in the year 2000. But keep in mind, GoldenEye sold like 8 million copies. You know, so game to game, that's a massive hit. But, you know, Perfect Dark was constrained. You know, the big one being this was an M-rated title. And why it doesn't count as Nintendo's first you know, their first M-rated published title, it's because technically the game was published by Rare. I know Rare and Nintendo had this weird dynamic where Rare published the game, but you know the fucking distribution, the sales, the marketing, that was all still taken care of by Nintendo. So, and it wasn't just to have M-rated games on the market, because the first game that entered into this agreement was Diddy Kong Racing. You know, it says published by Rare, but nobody fucking thinks of it as a Rare published title. It's always attributed to Nintendo, because guess what? Nintendo did all the fucking heavy lifting, which they did for all of Rare's titles, self-published or not. Like I said, just a weird situation. And you know, the reason I remember is because Nintendo made a big deal about, oh, this is being published. You know, these games are being published by Rare. Anyway, you know, console shooters go, it's definitely one of the better ones from that time period. still, it's got a better interface than GoldenEye in that it's got the primordia of a radial wheel going on there. And this is also pre-Halo, so you can carry as many weapons as you damn well please.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a curse on consoles, to be honest. Especially like GoldenEye, because you had a bunch of weapons, but you had to do the fucking cycle through. There's no fucking keyboard buttons to go, oh, I want to use the shotgun. I can press the shotgun button. And Perfect Dark had about the best compromise, I guess, you could get in the year 2000. Like, look, there's a reason why the Halo method of loadouts took off on consoles.
Indeed.
But like I said, it works well enough for the limits of the N64 controller. Once again, one analog stick, less of a problem than say Turok. This is I think a reason why you can't jump. Not enough buttons. Though I believe you can do the dual analog trick that you could do in GoldenEye. It's just dual analogs on the N64 was very impractical, very unwieldy, because you had to have two joysticks. You had to have two analog sticks. You had to wield two controllers at once. Now, using
episode one racer style.
Yeah.
With the code, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you've ever held an N64 controller, you know it's hated by millions. I mean, I didn't have that much of a problem with it because I have big hands and could reach the Z button with a normal placement. It's just honestly, I think for me the biggest problem was that actual analog stick. It's fucking garbage.
To put it lightly.
It's not rubberized. It's not. It's hard fucking plastic. This is why people got blisters on their hands due to Mario Party.
Can confirm.
But in terms of mission structure, it's the same thing as the Bond games, because the Bond games retain the GoldenEye mission structure. Agent, secret agent, perfect agent in this case. And difficulty is not just the enemies taking more hits or being better at shooting or things like that. No. There are more objectives that you have to do. Like, difficulty actually matters beyond, bullet sponginess. It's a good kind of difficulty. And to compound that, it's also got the GoldenEye, time cheats system. Like if you beat a level at a certain amount of time on a certain difficulty level, it does fluctuate. It's not all though if you do the higher level, you will unlock, you'll unlock the various cheats like slow motion. I forget if DK mode's in this one. A whole bunch of that. And in regards to the story, it's very late 90s, early 2000s cyberpunk. A lot of conspiracies, a lot of alien paraphernalia. Probably one of the better stories on the N64, quite frankly. I suppose very quickly, Perfect Dark Zero. Never played it. Never had the desire. I've heard it was okay to not good, but in spite of being a launch title, Microsoft didn't really know what to do with Perfect Dark, which is a bit strange because it's not like they didn't know how to market first-person shooters.
Looking at you, Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like Perfect Dark Zero was a fish out of water like most of Rare's output.
Yeah, Perfect Dark is a fairly orthodox
you know,
Game design, aside from being a female lead first-person shooter, which isn't even that weird.
yeah. So the question that beckons, why did Perfect Dark Zero fail? Well, I can sum this up in about 4 words: Call of Duty 2. You know, yeah, that was the big first-person shooter that was pushed at launch time.
Mhm.
You know,
Now remind me, 2 was when it was still like World War II era, but
yes,
not retro-wise.
yeah,
It was before they went modern for the first time.
yes.
Well before.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't go modern until Call of Duty 4. Modern
Yeah.
Warfare.
Uh,
Call of Duty 2 is still very much a World War II game. In fact, that was one where you played multiple companies. You know, that was the one where you played as Russian soldier, played as in the Battle of Stalingrad, played as a British soldier in the North Africa campaign, and you played as an American soldier at fucking D-Day. Because that wasn't quite a cliche in 2005. You know. Anyway, so Perfect Dark Zero released to a resounding mediocre thud, and whatever success it may have found was not followed up upon. You know, like a lot of Rare stuff from that time. You know, and outside of it getting a Xbox, you know, the original game getting an Xbox Live Arcade re-release, Perfect Dark, you know, just one of the many Rare franchises that have laid dormant, because the thing is, Rare doesn't, the current day Rare doesn't really want to, you know, they want to do new stuff. They don't want to do IP, work on IP that was made 20 years ago, and so on and so forth at this point. Like, and I get it. You know, it's like, you know, Banjo-Kazooie was once upon a time a great pair of games, but you know, most of the people who worked on that have moved on to various locations.
and the genre also has evolved into, you know, a
You know,
lot of
they could
open
probably,
world games that still have collectathon stuff, but the scenario is a little bit.
yeah, you know, they could probably get away with doing a new Banjo-Kazooie now more than they could in 2008. And I'm talking classical style, since there definitely seems to be much more of a desire for that, especially since we're hitting peak 90s nostalgia. You know, fucking Spyro and Crash having big comebacks, remakes. You know, the thing of it is, Rare is fine with other companies working on IP. You know, like the Xbox One edition of Killer Instinct, more recently Battletoads, and now we got Perfect Dark. And yeah, like I'm, you know, I'm certainly interested to see what's going to be done with Perfect Dark in the future, because if nothing else, Microsoft is betting big on it. Like I said, this isn't a random indie developer um, being behind this. You know, this is one of my, you know, this is Microsoft's shiny new premier studio that they built. You know, not acquired. They built this one. So there's you know, this is clearly going to be a major cog at some point in time. Hopefully it doesn't encounter the problems that the 343 Halo games do. You know, there's some what happened material right there. Anyway, so that'll about do it for not just this installment of Fragments of Silicon, but this season. Indeed, we are taking the holiday off, at least most of it. I think there will be regular Final Fantasy 14 streams throughout the holidays.
Yeah, mostly. I think we're off Christmas and New Year's because people
Well,
have
yeah.
families.
Yeah, and you might want to post that information on social media.
Mm-hmm.
We do have one last formal obligation, and that is a new episode of Last News Desk on the Left, which will be broadcasting out in about 15 minutes, maybe a little later. That all depends on Mac and technology. But until then, I shall wish you good gaming.